Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive straight into a really profound paradigm shift found in ancient texts. We'll be exploring the sharp, honestly kind of jarring contrast between how the world defines success and the biblical view of true, lasting blessing. It's a fascinating look at how ancient wisdom speaks directly to our very modern anxieties about wealth, fairness, and what it actually means to live a good life.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, the illusion of prosperity and wrestling with reality.
It all starts with a universal frustration. You know the feeling, right? The sheer unfairness of life. Have you ever just looked around and felt like the people doing the wrong things are the ones getting ahead? Why do the wicked prosper? It feels like a gritty, modern question, but surprisingly, ancient scripture actually tackles this tension head-on. Take the book of Job, for instance. Job asks, "Why do the wicked live on, grow old, and increase in power? Their houses are safe from fear." Notice the contrast there. Job isn't doubting God, he's just confronting reality honestly. He's observing that people who completely reject a moral path often sit in safe houses, utterly untouched by the storm. It's a really raw observation. And Job isn't alone here. The prophet Jeremiah and elsewhere Habakkuk echoes this exact same plea. Jeremiah literally says, "Why does the way of the wicked prosper?" I love this because it proves that the source material doesn't just gloss over injustice. Instead, it warmly acknowledges it as a valid, deeply painful human experience. The question is real, and the texts admit that, yes, the wicked actually can and do prosper in the short term. But Psalm 73 suggests a radical shift in perspective to resolve this tension. If we look through just our natural eyes, well, we envy the mansion on the hill. We just do. But shifting to our spiritual eyes reveals a totally different reality. That mansion? It's built on a crumbling cliff. Their prosperity is an illusion simply because it doesn't last.
Moving on to Section 2, redefining true success, the paradigm shift.
To really grasp this shift, we first have to redefine the terms we use to measure a life. Usually, worldly success is defined by acquiring things, right? Getting land, making money, gaining influence. It's highly visible and it's highly measurable. We all kind of know the drill. But let's contrast that visible wealth with godly success. The texts show that God isn't inherently against finances, not at all, but true success is measured entirely differently. It's about faithfulness, righteousness, and a life completely aligned with Him. It's much more about your internal posture rather than just your external accumulation. Which brings us to Section 3. What is real blessing? Beyond material gain. This leads us straight to a specific verse from Proverbs. "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and He adds no sorrow with it." The source material defines a real blessing as having God's presence within you. And what sets it apart is that it comes without that underlying anxiety or that creaking emptiness that so often tags along with mere material gain. It sets up this incredibly powerful dichotomy. You can have absolutely everything on the outside, the wealth, the status, the whole shebang, and still have a gaping void on the inside. On the flip side, a person can have very little externally, yet be entirely full of God and experience profound, unshakable peace. Let's look at Section 4, the unseen inner life, living abundantly. When the texts talk about an abundant life, they definitely aren't talking about excess stuff. They're talking about profound spiritual roots bearing real fruit. We're talking about having peace from the peacemaker, discovering purpose from the designer, receiving guidance, and finding refuge. It's a comprehensive framework for real human flourishing. Now, to build this inner life, the texts provide a really specific methodology over in Matthew chapter 6. Jesus emphasizes that the unseen inner life is where the true value actually lies. When you give, pray, or fast, you're instructed to do it in secret, meaning your greatest rewards are often completely invisible to the rest of the world at first. It totally strips away the performative aspect of success. Humanity constantly obsesses over the outer appearance, right? That ornate mask. But the texts remind us that it's temporary and honestly wasting away. God, however, looks at the inner heart, which requires daily vigilance and renewal. His transformative work always starts internally. Okay, Section 5, an eternal perspective, times, seasons, and patience. To truly understand why the wicked seem to prosper, we really have to zoom out to God's eternal timeline. People often mistake God's silence for indifference, but His patience isn't a lack of action, it's a profound mercy.
purposefully designed to give everyone time to turn and seek Him. As the book of Ecclesiastes reminds us, there's a season for everything. When we map this out, the short term is characterized by the fleeting prosperity of the wicked. The medium term is the unfolding of a larger unseen purpose. And the long term? That's the eternal reward of the righteous. The momentary success of those rejecting God is literally just a tiny blip on an eternal scale.
So what do you desire? Since the texts tell us that our desires shape our direction, we really have to ask ourselves where we are genuinely storing our treasure. Are we chasing short-term visible success, or are we after long-term unseen blessing? The invitation presented in the source material is summarized beautifully in Psalm 34, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." According to this worldview, God is never inviting you to a life of less. He isn't asking you to empty yourself just for the sake of suffering. Rather, He's inviting you to an absolute abundance of what actually satisfies the soul.
Ultimately, the prosperity of the wicked might be very real, but it is deeply temporary. The blessing of God might be unseen at first, but it is eternal. Real success isn't about what you build on the outside, it's about who you become on the inside. So, looking at the scales of your own life right now, which measure of success are you using to evaluate your days?